picture this, a $3 million destination wedding just coming to an absolute screeching halt.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That sounds like a nightmare.
Right. I mean, the caterers are standing by, the string quartet is out there playing to just like an empty manicured lawn. The entire timeline is totally collapsing.
And let me guess, it's not because of like a hurricane or a vendor going bankrupt, is it?
Exactly. It is not a vendor bankruptcy. It is all because a driver in a standard sedan didn't have the 6-digit security gate code for a private Palm Desert estate.
Oh, man.
And they've literally been stuck at the entrance for 45 minutes. Because, when you think about luxury travel, our minds immediately go to the infinity pools.
Right, the 5-star dining, the amazing resort architecture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We almost never think about the invisible architecture of movement that actually makes those experiences possible.
Well, the irony is that the most beautifully engineered itinerary in the world is, it's actually incredibly fragile.
Yeah.
It can completely unravel the moment a passenger steps off the tarmac if there isn't a rigorous, mathematically sound strategy for, just navigating the physical space.
So today, we are tearing down the drywall to look at that invisible infrastructure. On the desk today, we have a really cool document. It serves as this fascinating blueprint for this highly structured industry.
Yeah, it's the Palm Desert Private Luxury Transportation Guide, published by Palm Springs Limo Services.
Yes, and our mission today for this deep dive is to extract the sheer mechanics of high-end travel coordination in the Coachella Valley. We're looking at the dispatch logic, the vehicle physics, and the psychological frameworks these professionals use to just systematically eliminate friction.
Right, because the underlying physics of moving people efficiently, they don't really change, whether you're in Southern California or like halfway across the globe.
Totally. And to you, the listener, I just want to say, even if you have zero plans to book a private executive SUV this year, understanding how these logistical networks operate will fundamentally alter how you approach your own trips.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you are, engineering a massive family reunion across multiple cities or just trying to commute to a critical meeting without losing your mind, there is an absolute science to frictionless travel.
There really is.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start with the physical geometry of Palm Desert because the environment itself dictates a completely different set of transportation rules than, say, Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah, it is entirely different. It is basically a closed network landscape.
Right.
Palm Desert and the surrounding Coachella Valley, they're defined by these sprawling luxury communities, massive private estates, and all those golf resorts.
Yeah, you are not dealing with a dense, walkable grid where spontaneity works in your favor.
Exactly. The architecture of the region is literally engineered for exclusivity, which, inherently means it is engineered to restrict access.
And that restriction completely breaks the modern reflex of just like pulling out your phone and hailing a rideshare.
Oh, totally.
Looking at the transportation guide, it becomes super clear why relying on an algorithmic rideshare in an environment of walled gardens is just a massive liability. I was actually thinking about this. Relying on an app to send a car into a gated private resort community is like hoping you can buy a ticket at the door of a sold-out VIP event.
That is a great way to put it.
You are introducing this totally unpredictable, uncontrolled node into a closed network.
What's fascinating here is the sheer mechanics of why that unpredictability causes systemic failure. Like, a standard rideshare driver is operating on GPS routing that frequently just lacks the topological data of private rows.
Right, they don't know the layout.
Exactly. They don't know the turnaround radius of a specific private cul-de-sac. They don't have the pre-clearance protocols for the
guard checks, yeah.
Right, the guard checks. So booking a dedicated private service in this specific topography isn't just about paying for nice leather seats. It is an active strategy to purchase certainty.
Certainty as a measurable metric. I love that.
Precisely. You are replacing the high variance probability of an app. Like, I hope a driver is nearby, accepts the trip, and can figure out how to navigate the Eastgate security protocol.
Right.
You're replacing all that with a fixed constant. A professional chauffeur already have the access codes, they understand the local terrain, and they operate on a confirmed timeline. It is the concept of frictionless architecture applied to movement.
Okay, so we established that navigating the local ecosystem requires pre-clearance and deep architectural knowledge. But scaling out, actually getting into and out of the Coachella Valley, that presents a much heavier logistical equation.
It really does.
And this brings us to the first and last mile of any itinerary, which is airport routing. And here is where I kind of struggle to make sense of the math in the guide.
How so?
Well, the guide lays out two very different airport scenarios. The first is Palm Springs International Airport, PSP. It's a, 20 to 30-minute hop. That makes total sense to me.
Right, that's a low-friction, high-efficiency transfer.
But then the guide heavily details transportation to Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, and also Ontario. And getting to LAX from the desert, depending on Southern California traffic patterns, is like a 1.5 to 3 hour drive.
Yeah, it can be brutal.
So I have to challenge this premise. If we're talking about an audience operating at this level of luxury and efficiency, why on earth would anyone subject themselves to a 3-hour commute on the I-10 freeway instead of just chartering a flight or, insisting on a connection out of the local Palm Springs airport? It seems like a massive waste of both time and money.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the realities of global aviation infrastructure.
Okay.
Palm Springs is an excellent regional hub, sure, but it simply cannot accommodate the heavy, wide-body jets required for major international long-haul routes.
Ah,
So if a client is flying direct to Tokyo, Dubai, or some highly specific European hub, LAX is often the mandatory gateway. The 3-hour drive isn't some masochist choice, It is literally an infrastructural requirement.
okay, wow. That fundamentally changes the equation, so the drive is unavoidable.
Hmm.
But how does the transportation provider engineer that 3-hour window so it doesn't just completely degrade the client's experience?
Yeah, that's where they apply what we can call a transit productivity index, and it really starts with the science of buffer times.
Buffer times, right.
Dispatchers for these high-end firms aren't just opening Google Maps and guessing. They're running historical traffic algorithms.
Really, that deep.
Oh, yeah. They factor in the specific day of the week, holiday compression, local festival traffic, weather patterns, all of it. They calculate a departure time that absorbs any potential friction on the highway without transferring that anxiety to the passenger.
So it is essentially psychological insulation. The passenger isn't gripping a steering wheel, watching brake lights, and desperately calculating if they will miss their international connection.
Exactly. That is the core product. By isolating the passenger in a controlled environment with a professional handling all those variables, the firm effectively moves the starting line of the vacation or the business trip.
Moving it from the airport terminal directly to the client's front door.
Right. The transit time is no longer this dead time lost to commuting. It is actually reclaimed.
Reclaimed time. That's huge. And we are seeing how intense the calculations are just to move a single executive or family to LAX. So let's scale up the complexity even more.
Let's do it.
We are moving from single variable equations to multivariable calculus now. I want to look at what it takes to move large groups of high net worth individuals simultaneously for really high stakes events. We are talking about corporate leadership summits and destination weddings.
Yeah, this is where logistics transitions into pure risk management.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The source material outlines the different use cases shuttling investors between golf retreats or managing a massive bridal party across multiple venues. And reading between the lines, the actual physical vehicles seem to undergo this functional metamorphosis based entirely on the mission profile of the passengers inside.
Oh, break that down. What do you mean?
Well, for a corporate retreat, the executive SUV or the luxury Sprinter van, it basically ceases to be a mode of transportation. It literally functions as a moving conference room.
Right.
If an executive team lands at PSP and has a 40-minute drive to a resort, the productivity doesn't pause. They are conducting pre-briefings, taking confidential calls, finalizing presentations in the sound-isolated environment.
Absolutely.
But then, swap out that executive team for a bridal party on a Saturday night, and that exact same Sprinter van becomes a rolling safety net.
That's a great analogy.
It is a liability mitigation tool, ensuring that after an open bar reception, no one is wandering around a dark, unfamiliar desert road trying to find a rideshare. The metal chassis is identical, but the operational mandate is entirely different.
Yeah, that dual functionality is really the backbone of fleet utilization in this industry. And whether it is functioning as a moving conference room or a rolling safety net, the underlying principle is always redundancy.
Redundancy, right.
Because when you are coordinating a corporate summit or a luxury destination wedding, you are dealing with a highly fragile supply chain. The caterers, the keynote speakers, the audiovisual teams, everything is tethered to a very strict timeline.
Right, so a single point of failure just collapses the entire structure.
Precisely. If the key investors miss the morning presentation because they took a wrong turn navigating a sprawling resort complex, the financial implications are massive.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So professional group transportation basically acts as an insurance policy against that single point of failure. These dispatch networks often utilize shadow vehicles or staging areas just outside the venues.
Wait, shadow vehicles, like backups just waiting there.
Exactly. They aren't just sending a car, they're deploying a synchronized fleet with built-in contingencies. So that if a road is closed or an event runs 30 minutes late, the logistical net stretches to catch the anomaly without tearing.
Okay, but if the transportation network is this robust, acting as a foolproof insurance policy with shadow fleets and algorithmic dispatching,
Yeah.
how does it ever fail? I want to pivot into the mechanical breakdown of these systems because the guide places a massive emphasis on selecting the specific vehicle type, and it warns against common booking errors.
Yeah, matching the machine to the mission. It is a fundamental principle of cargo physics and data ingestion.
Let's look at the fleet taxonomy first. We have standard luxury sedans, which, are assigned to solo travelers or couples with minimal luggage.
Right.
Then we have the larger sprinter vans or mini coaches for those coordinated group movements we just discussed. And then occupying the middle ground is the executive SUV.
A very crucial vehicle in the desert.
Yeah, the material specifically highlights the SUV as crucial for families, corporate teams, and very notably for the Palm Desert ecosystem golfers.
Which brings us directly to the vulnerabilities of the system. Because the most sophisticated dispatch software in the world cannot override the laws of physical space.
I have to say, I found myself slightly baffled by the common mistakes section. We are talking about highly coordinated luxury trips, yet the warnings are about things like underestimating holiday traffic, failing to provide a gate code, or ignoring luggage capacity.
Yeah, sounds basic.
Wait, so a highly coordinated luxury trip can be completely derailed simply because someone forgot to give the driver a gate code or didn't realize 4 sets of golf clubs won't fit in a standard sedan. It seems almost absurd that a multi-thousand-dollar travel itinerary can be destroyed because someone brought an extra set of golf clubs.
This raises an important question about the true point of failure in modern logistics. It is almost never mechanical. I mean, it is incredibly rare for an executive SUV to simply break down on the side of the road.
Right.
The failure is almost entirely rooted in the human element, specifically a breakdown in the initial data ingestion.
Meaning, the client provides bad data, the system outputs a bad result.
Consider the cargo physics of a golf trip. 4 executives traveling together might assume a luxury sedan is sufficient.
Sure, 4 people, 4 seats.
But hard-sided golf travel cases have zero compression. They are fixed volumetric objects.
Oh, right.
2 of those bags will instantly max out the cubic capacity of a standard trunk, which completely strands the other 2 passengers and their standard luggage on the curb.
Wow, just mathematically impossible to fit.
Exactly. If the transportation provider isn't given that specific data point that the mission involves 4 oversized, non-compressible items, they deploy the wrong hardware. The entire stress reduction mechanism fails before the engine is even turned on.
So it requires the traveler to shift from being a passive consumer to an active co-architect of their itinerary.
Yes, beautifully said.
You can't just throw a credit card at a luxury service and expect magic. You have to feed the logistics engine the exact parameters, like accurate passenger counts, specific luggage dimensions, and the operational quirks of your destination, like the name of the security guard on duty at a private development.
Because without those parameters, the chauffeur hits a firewall. If they arrive at a gated estate and the client hasn't pre-authorized their name, the driver literally cannot legally enter.
And the whole timeline just blows up.
Right. The schedule hemorrhages time, the carefully calculated buffer for the LAX transfer just evaporates, and the client absorbs all the stress the service was designed to eliminate. The architecture only holds up if the foundation is built on accurate communication.
Okay, so distilling all of this down to the core mechanics, what are the actionable insights we can extract from this high-end Coachella Valley playbook? It seems clear that mastering travel, regardless of your budget, really requires a 3-pronged approach.
I'd agree with that.
First, it requires an accurate assessment of the physical environment, knowing if you are entering a closed network that demands pre-clearance. Second, it demands rigorous cargo math, matching the sheer volume of your group and luggage to the appropriate hardware.
And finally,
And finally, it requires replacing hope with structure.
yes, moving away from the high-variance gamble of ride shares and embracing the fixed constant of structured scheduling.
Exactly.
Because when you isolate yourself from the friction of the physical environment, you reclaim your cognitive bandwidth. You are free to actually focus on the objective of your trip, whether that is negotiating a corporate merger or simply being present at a family celebration.
And that brings us right back to you, the listener. We started this deep dive by promising that understanding these mechanics would change how you plan your next trip.
And I think it really does.
The ultimate travel hack isn't some secret packing technique or a points hacking strategy.
Yeah.
It is treating your transportation as the foundational layer of your event architecture.
Absolutely.
Whether you are moving a corporate board across the state or just trying to get your family from the airport to a theme park hotel without a complete meltdown, engineering your movement first ensures the rest of the itinerary naturally supports itself. You build the infrastructure, and the experience flourishes inside it.
It ceases to be an afterthought relegated to the baggage claim and becomes the spine of the entire trip.
We have spent a lot of time today analyzing the visible geometry of this industry. The dispatch algorithms, the cargo physics, the gate codes, and those multi-hour transit routes to LAX.
We covered a lot of ground.
But I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over. Something outside the spreadsheets and the logistical formulas. We talked extensively about how these vehicles operate as secure, controlled environments for productivity and privacy.
Right, the moving conference rooms.
Think for a moment about the professional chauffeur sitting in the front seat of that environment. In a world where multi-million-dollar corporate acquisitions are negotiated on speakerphone, where intense family dramas play out on the way to a wedding, and where highly sensitive personal milestones occur in the back of these cabins, the chauffeur acts as the ultimate silent gatekeeper. They are the invisible witnesses to the most pivotal, unfiltered moments of their passengers' lives. What incredible unseen human stories must travel up and down those Coachella Valley highways, locked behind tinted glass, every single day. It really makes you rethink the secrets kept in the front seat.